It's bloody shitty on the podcast today.
I know.
We might get in an argument.
Listeners are going to love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Go.
Just saying, the other side of equanimity.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Blokes podcast. Ryan Hassan here as always, joined by Nick Sutherland. We've got a bit of a grumpy Nick today. Nick, what's going on?
Oh, fuck off.
I might enjoy this. I think I might enjoy this side of you today.
I'm going to ham it up a bit. I'm going to play it on it.
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. But you've had a bit going on, mate. You've had a break-in at the office there. You've had some art stolen. You've literally just before we jumped on the show here, you've had to remove someone from your bathroom or toilets there at the office. It's interesting week for you down there at Myndfit HQ.
Welcome to the OK Corral. It's the fucking wild, wild west down here. Just people doing what they fucking well please, just strolling in, grab themselves some artwork, just shoot up in the bathroom at the back, hose your bike down. What am I, bike car wash? Like, I can't see a sign out the back, $2 bike car wash. Sure.
Strap yourselves in, people. This is going to be a ripper. I can feel it already. This is great.
Old mate out the back strapped his arm in and then fucking stuck a needle in it. And, well, he didn't actually get the chance to because I interrupted him. He had a chair set up.
He got his bike washed, though.
He did. It was like, hey, come on, I'll wash your bike for you. $2. You go and shoot some smack in the dunny and I'll wash your bike for you. I'm like, what are you doing here? He's like, oh, I just saw that. I looked over the fence and saw there was a hose and thought I'd wash my bike. I'm like, what? Who looks over a fence for starters? And then he's come through the back gate because fucking Shane forgot to padlock it. So I've just rung him and torn him a new one.
Shane's copped grumpy Nick voicemail.
Shane has copped military Nick. It's like, stop doing fucking half a job.
And you asked this man if he was homeless, and he's not though.
Well, he said no, but he was wearing a trench coat, like on a warmish sort of. Oh, that's just all odd, man. I don't know. Like it was weird. Like the break-in, so they've smashed the back door in. Like it had deadbolts. They've really worked hard. And then they've made themselves a hot shot. I'm glad they feel that's the vibe we were going after when I was trying to create this place. So clearly it's working because they've made themselves a hard shocky. They've dropped a little bit and cleaned it up. And they've just taken 3 bits of art that were pretty important to me personally. But I didn't take it personally. I experienced suffering. I felt a bit sad.
I think you're in a bit of suffering at the minute, Nick.
I'm choosing to be in a distortion right now. This is mindful distortion.
Mindful distortion. No. I love it.
Yeah. So I've been fine about the break-in. It was all good. It was just it's what it is. It's not outside the realms of probability or possibility that a commercial property is going to get broken into, So it is what it is, and everything's impermanent. Yep, art gets stolen. Okay. I felt my mind trying to go into these distortions. It's not fair, and I can't believe, and taking it personally, and they shouldn't have done that, and they're so fucked, and the typical stuff, but I didn't. It was weird, actually. I read a quote ages ago. It says, you've done too much work when you can be empathetic for someone who's broken the law or something along those lines. And so I was just a bit sad for these people. Like, it's a bit sad that they feel the need to break into somewhere and steal some art. So with the break-in, it was fine. It's just, it is what it is. Took him a stride. But then I wasn't meant to be in the office today, and I've just rocked up here because I've got to take Polly to the vet, and I thought I'll just come here. Just been in the wood chipper all day, all morning. Hired a wood chipper. And
right.
Yeah, Em went to town at home the other day, just smashing all these branches out, and so I just chipped it all up.
How manly of you. Were you playing a bit of Jimmy Barnes or something while you were doing that?
No, I had the chainsaw out though.
Chainsaw, right. Hockey mask as well or not?
No hockey mask. So yeah, bit of that this morning. So I've come up to Mornington, just popped in the office, walked out the back door, and I've seen this head bob down. And so there's 2 outside toilets. One of them we're using for storage. The other one's right near the back door, but you got to walk down some stairs to get to it. So I'm up, and it doesn't have a top over the door. Like there's about 6 inch gap between the top of the door and the door frame. And I've seen this head just bop down. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And this bloke's just going, oh shit. And like, if the break-in hadn't have happened, I would have handled it much differently. But I just chose. I felt the distortion. I was like, I can't believe someone's. And I was like, mate, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm just washing my bike. I went, you're in a toilet cubicle, you're not washing a bike. And he had some pack unrolled and, hooked up on top of the mirror and everything. I'm like, are you having a shower? Is that your shower bag? Are you homeless? No, mate, I'm not homeless. What are you doing here? He's like, I'm just taking a shit. I'm like, it's not your toilet. You have no rights being here. You don't belong here. You're trespassing. And he's like, yeah, I just looked over the fence and saw the hose. I went, why are you looking over the fence? Why does your bike need a wash on a Friday afternoon in someone's business? Like,
all very valid questions.
And I've come in the back door, and we've got some water has gotten underneath the door onto the mat. And where were you washing your bike on the landing at the back door? That's so weird. And Nick. So he's like, "Oh, sorry, mate. I filmed him. I'm going to pull it up. Check this. I don't know if you can hear it. Is this place before? I rode into there on my bike. And I fucking it over the fence, and I seen the hose sitting there, man. I was talking on the fucking, you know what I mean? It's a business, mate. So, business. Oh, yeah, mate, I wasn't fucking going into the place. I was just, sorry, mate. Someone, if he's a being broken into, I understand you're pissed off there. Yeah. Well, if you're being broken into, he understands that I'm upset.
That's nice. He's empathetic towards you, compassionate, Nick.
So,
well, it's these things. That's when things tend to get to us. When we start to have these things sort of stack on top of each other.
But I observed it. And I observed it. With the break-in, I observed how we are in our thoughts, the observation of our thoughts. So I observed my thoughts on the break-in. When the lights got stolen off my car, I observed that. I observed this bloke here, so I observed my thoughts, and I saw them starting to swell and to grow, and I was like, I could have taken the hard path, and I just went, fuck it. I take the hard path so often, I'm going to let this bloke have it. It's not okay.
You mindfully took the easy path.
If I placate him, yes. Because I had to set a boundary. You had to know that if I had have gone into equanimity and said, oh, that's all right, mate. Well, hey, next time, can you please not come in? He's going to go, sure, mate. And sure enough, it'd be here next Friday. So
yeah, well, this is we spoke about this
distortion
after I stubbed my toe and spilt the coffee a little while back, and then we actually were having a chat about the healthy times to start to use our anger. And I think when the whole idea of anger is that's how we set boundaries. That's what sort of the emotion's for. So when our boundaries are encroached, we're able to actually set them, and anger allows us to do that. Not anger as in trying to hurt, but anger as in being able to stand our ground firmly and say no. No means no in that respect. And I think it's a healthy use of anger to tell someone, stop fucking washing your bike and having a shit in my toilet.
Absolute madhouse around here at the moment.
So everyone has an idea of the peninsula and how beautiful it is.
It's like Frankston's leaking, and all of a sudden, it's washing into Mornington.
That's right, mate. At least it's not boring.
My life is far from boring right now. Far from boring.
You find it's funny sometimes and this can be a distortion itself when things are a bit too, calm. We look to shake things up and mix things up a bit, and then we tend to go the other way and go, things are way too mixed up. I want some more normality in my life and less excitement.
I talk to clients about the Stoic expression amor fati, which is a love of fate, so a love of whatever happens. Mm-hmm. Out on the golf course, I love that my ball is in the bunker because now it's an opportunity to hit a great shot and blah, blah, blah. So it's reframe it and going into constructive thinking. But it's... how's it going with that? So this is what happens when you're in a distortion.
You've got spaghetti brain, Nick. In your own words, you've got spaghetti brain.
You can't. And I wanted to hold on to this so the listeners know that, because a lot of my clients go, "Oh, you just, do you get upset?" And I go, "Of course they. They seem to have this perception that I'm just some Buddha-like,
Well, they get an idea of perfect in their head, which can then seem unattainable.
Yeah. So, as we talk about, I'm no different to anyone else. What were you talking about before I started talking? Then you were talking about. I did have a good point.
It'll come back to you, Dick. I'm sure.
No, probably won't. It's so.
I wasn't talking too much. You were just banging on.
Oh, the storm. Yeah. So we So we talk about being equanimous and more fatigue, a love of fate and everything. And so I love everything that's happened in my life, my childhood, my army experience and everything, because it's led me to be sitting here talking to you today. But I wouldn't go chasing that sort of stuff. So we don't want to go diving into a storm. Like imagine, you're sailing in metaphor, and you don't want to see a storm on the horizon with thunder and lightning and green clouds and go, oh, beauty, I'm going to go and sail straight into that just for a bit of fun. But and so we'd ideally like to navigate around the storm, whatever the storm is in your life. But sometimes it's inevitable; it rolls in really quickly, and that's where we need to stand up and, all right, I've got to stay present and get through this storm. I've got to navigate my way through this storm. So I'm not going to, I live a fairly equanimous life, and I don't go and chase storms intentionally. But when they arise, like some dude smacking up in the toilet after I've just been broken into on the weekend, I'm like, I'm going to navigate through this storm and let the storm know that I'm not to be fucked with as well.
Yeah, because some people can get a bit too much the other way, like you were saying. It's like, like with you, like you obviously, went through in the army and you're a victim of sexualized violence. I went through drug addiction.
I'm not a victim.
No, I'm just trying to use that word. I know that's not the right word, but I'm just saying. So then, we say we're very thankful and glad we went through all that we went through because it led us to be here today. But that doesn't mean we're going to seek out more situations like that because that's the way to grow, But some people do get a bit. I've seen people go like, I've got to chase, struggle or go through certain things. And, it's not so much the case. Like you said, it's when you realize you're in it, it's like, okay, now I've got to try and navigate this and accept it so I can move through it. I'm not going to chase it.
Too many people scamper and go below deck and hide and just wish and hope and wants it all to pass. That they're actually very passive, where we need to stay on deck behind the wheel, holding to our course. So I'm not going to run off and try and find some 8 dudes and say, hey guys, are you guys bored? Any chance you can strip me naked and zip tie me to a cage and whip me and fire hose me? And it's it's a Sunday afternoon. Thought a bit of sexualized violence might be in the cards. If you're not too busy. Yeah. Anyone, just do us a favour, do us a solid, will you? Thanks, guys. Yeah, it's been 20 years. I thought maybe it's time again.
Due again. Yeah.
So you're obviously you're obviously not going to go running looking for that stuff, but and when you're in it, it's difficult and it feels like shit. But when you come out of it, there's always value to take out of something. So
Yeah, of course. And then once you're, move through your mindful cognitive distortions, then you're just going to have a funny story to tell,
totally. But some people can go too far into. I had a client once come in after a few sessions. She goes, "Nick, I think I'm bored," and I was like, "Oh, that's interesting. And tell me what bored means." And anyway, it turns out she'd had a life of conflict, and she was just experiencing peace. So she mistook boredom for peace. So yeah, some people are conditioned to conflict and just keep trying to create it. They'll intentionally they'll unconsciously cause agitation in others, press buttons to feel something.
Yeah.
But sometimes people go the other way and they become too apathetic and they just like to experience too much of it. So
yeah, no, it's often like people who've had the childhood when they were growing up was very chaotic, so their nervous system has kind of become adapted to chaos. Because our nervous system gets adapted to whatever environment we're in, and so if it gets adapted to that, then all of a sudden, and you see it a lot, like some of a chaotic upbringing, a chaotic series of boyfriends or girlfriends, and then they find a partner who's like really good for them and really chilled, and like, I found the perfect man or woman. Oh, it's so good. Then a few weeks in, they start getting the shakes because they're like, well, this is too good. This is too good.
I'm having withdrawal symptoms.
I'm not used to peace. I'm not used to peace. And then they start,
and they'll sabotage it.
They'll sabotage it, exactly, because they're like, subconsciously, they're like, no, this is way too calm and peaceful for me, which is not how my nervous system was adapted.
I don't know what this is, therefore I'm afraid of it. It's uncomfortable. I'm going to get rid of it.
Exactly. And so then we'll seek out these partners or friends that aren't really good for us, but they help us replay the circumstances from when we were younger.
So what'd you say? Something to chaos? What's your
addicted to chaos?
It's a great name for a band.
I adapted. Yeah, I said nervous system becomes adapted to chaos. Yeah. Addicted to chaos is a good name for a band.
So I was adapted to chaos.
Yeah. Adapted to chaos. And so it's like this adaptation that happens, and that's why it's like, even you talk about environmental factors, like, there's so much good science coming out now about how much in the womb, our environment, the environment of our mother affects the unborn fetus. And, women who have very stressed pregnancies, the babies are born with higher levels of cortisol in their system, which is the stress hormone. So you talk about being like really early on, like before we were born, adapted to these stress conditions. That's how early it can start.
I can feel it now, and like I'm tuned right in, and it just doesn't feel good. It doesn't. Yeah. Like I can feel it's sort of it's like you're shaky, but you just, I don't know. I can feel something.
And this is why it's so like important for people to understand. This is how that nervous system adapts. So for like you're someone who loves, the Sultan of Still, you're someone who loves an equanimous life and taking things in their stride. Then all of a sudden you have this break in, and a few days later you've got someone in your bloody toilets washing their body and all this stuff. So it's this unsettling feeling, which most people would have that response. Now imagine when you're younger and you have that unsettling feeling most of the time, because maybe your parents are on drugs or alcoholic, maybe you're getting bullied at school every day, but so you've got that feeling all the time. So in order to survive, our body starts to adapt and said, okay, these are normal conditions, which they're not, but they're happening all the time. So those normal conditions, then we start to adapt to stress, and that starts to feel normal, because that's really the only way. And the intelligence of our body is incredible that it does that, because it just wants us to survive these stressful events over and over again. Because if you're used to that still state, and imagine if this feeling of the break-in person in the toilets was happening, 3 days a week, every week, like you wouldn't be able to handle that. It'd be just horrible. Like you'd have to start to adapt to those conditions, which I hope you don't have to, totally. Nick.
No, well, we're going to put an alarm and some cameras in. But it's really been really interesting. I am. And I talked about an agitated mind, so ideally our emotions are like a calm, serene lake. And so I consciously let the storm, build those waves in my emotions, just to see what it was like. It's a Friday arvo. What else I got to do? And the opportunity presented itself. So, yeah. But sitting here now, like I don't like this. It's not authentic to who I feel I am. So it's not sitting well within me. My being is not well right now.
You have an unwell being. I'm going to call this episode Grumpy Nick.
Great.
Awesome. It's the best. Yeah, because I found for myself, the more I, peel back the layers and went through my metanoia, was that, years ago, I remember the first time I tried meditation, I just started to get into self-help. I started to read a couple of self-help books and was getting a bit excited about that whole world, positive thinking and all that rubbish. And
it's so weird, that title, self-help. It's just, I don't know why I laugh at it.
Self-help or personal development. And I read it, in a couple of the books that people were talking about meditation, and I'm like, fuck, I've got to give this a go, talking about the benefits and all that kind of jazz. And I was so adapted with all that was, in my system with trauma and all that kind of stuff and bad thinking styles that I just needed stimulation constantly. Like I would get home from work and literally walk through the door and just turn TV on, radio on, all this shit on. And I wouldn't even really be watching or listening to any of it, but I needed background noise all the time. And so I'm like, I'm doing this meditation. I was home alone and I went into the back room, turned everything off, and I sat on the couch and I lasted about 20 seconds, I reckon, before I went, fuck this. And I got up and started turning shit back on. I'm like, that's horrible, because I was left with all that unconscious stuff that I actually wasn't aware of at the time. And, as I've gone through this metanoia process, I find now it's really swung in the opposite direction. Like, we're talking about when we come back to Australia, finding somewhere to, settle down with Tommy and everything. And I'm like, I want a quiet place with neighbors that aren't too close, like everyone a bit far away. And I just sort of want peace and quiet and less noise, I suppose. So I think that tends to be the case for a lot of people, I think, when they go down this path.
Interesting you listening to you talking about the meditation. Because when people talk to me about meditation, like, what's the best way to meditate? And I'm like, well, there is no best way to meditate. There are many ways to meditate. There are meditative exercises, there's meditative activity, there blah, blah, blah. And I said, look, for me personally, I don't see the value in sitting in a very soft, quiet room with Enya humping some whales in the background and beautiful candles burning and a rainbow falling upon my head, and it's just perfect and serene, and I'm just going to meditate. No, that was the best meditation. I really transcended. I really went somewhere then. It's not real life. It's like, I love meditating on the train from Flinders Street to Frankston at peak hour on a Friday arvo, because there's noise and there's shit going on around, and I think it's a far more productive meditation. I don't like binary thinking, better or worse, good or bad meditation. We don't use that here, so it's a more productive meditation, I feel.
Yeah, I like those as well, because I've always had issues with hypervigilance, which comes along with this, chaos and always needing stimulation and that kind of thing. So
I've never heard of it after being trained in the military.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a very military term,
what's hypervigilance?
Like I go to a cafe and I always have my back so no one's behind me and I'm facing an exit and that kind of stuff. Maybe I was army in a past life or something, Nick. And so yeah, I find like just taking a moment to meditate in those very, busy conditions, like, I ride a train often, but similar things, like if it's at a busy cafe or whatever it is, very good for me, because I'll really start to notice that hypervigilant part coming up and thinking like, oh, what was that noise? You better open your eyes and look. And it's like, what was that noise? You better open your eyes and look. And it's just working through that. I love that stuff as well.
You're on the most productive way to meditate with a cat in the room.
I'm not a cat person.
Me neither. That's why it'd be a good meditation. It's just a cat locked in a room with you, and you got to sit there and meditate. It's going to meow, it's going to scratch, it's going to be clawing at you, it's going to purr, it's going to, and you just got to sit there and it's just. I think the more stimulus we can have, the more it's going to change.
Well, that was like the Buddha, right? Was it Mara? And so Buddha was meditating under the Bodhi tree, and Mara, who's sort of the Buddhist, I suppose. You tell me if I'm right or wrong here, but it's like the avatar of evil or the devil kind of thing. Right. And so Mara is trying to tempt Buddha away from his meditation, trying to make him break focus. So I don't think he was shooting arrows in Buddha's direction. He just had to sit in stillness. He would send the very seductive prostitutes or beautiful women or whatever it was to start to try and get him to come out of his meditative state. And the Buddha was holding strong despite all those distractions.
Focus. It's all about focus. But it's great when you're meditating in a room with a clock ticking, and then the sound of the clock will come and go. I mean, it's still there the whole time. It's just your focus is aware of it or not aware of it. So it's not the sound that's coming and going. It's our focus is shifting and zooming in or zooming out or something. So I think it's really helpful to have some stimulus when we're meditating.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you start to notice that everything just comes from our own, stories and ideas. Like I did a session. I've been working with this lady for a few months, doing a bit of, more kind of spiritual work. And
I've spoken about this, yeah.
Yeah, we had a session maybe a week or two ago with another place, not here, and over the road they were doing some construction. And so just, banging and making noise. And I normally I was like, in my head, I'd just be like, shut the fuck up, because like Tommy's trying to sleep or something, and they got angle grinders going and all that. So I had this real negative association with their noise. And we're doing this session, and I got into this really beautiful state where I was just I'd let go of all mind and story, and I was just aware of just what was happening. And it wasn't until I came out of it that I noticed that the noise was happening over there. It was very prevalent, but I just had no stories behind it. So the noise was just arising, and noise was going away to back where it came from. And that noise was no different to the noise of my breath or Tommy laughing or the clock ticking. It's just, some things that are coming and going. And it was like,
it wasn't triggering you though, because you didn't have a belief that it shouldn't be there.
Exactly. And so then you come back and you're like, oh man, how much more suffering am I causing because I believe a noise shouldn't be happening or whatever it is.
Welcome to unnecessary suffering. Yeah. Yeah, collect your badge and your hat on the way out.
Badge. If I had unnecessary suffering from my life, I'd have the scout, how they collect a badge for each thing. My whole body would be covered in bloody badges. I'd have them up on my wall. My face would be covered in them.
Well.
Unnecessary suffering.
Well, it's true. Clients talk about, what do you do at Myndfit? And say, well, we help people to think constructively. That's in a nutshell. Well, why is that? Well, because there's suffering. You get broken
why
into.
Is that? Who's asking why is that? Pretty self-explanatory.
People, man.
Why would I want to do that?
I'm asking why some dude's in my toilet. Like these questions get asked. All right.
Yeah.
So. There's suffering and unnecessary suffering. And once you learn this concept and you realize how much suffering you're creating within yourself that's unnecessary, and you start reducing it, all of a sudden you see it in everyone else and you're like, fuck, it's everywhere. Everyone's doing this. And so
it's like Corona. It's like a virus, a very, very highly contagious virus that's been around ever since we've had a prefrontal cortex, I would say.
So we went to we had a Myndfit men's golf day last Sunday.
How'd you hit him, mate?
I didn't, because my wrist from skateboarding is
still no bueno. Can we talk about your skateboarding after this?
Yeah. So I bought a golf membership and then fell off my skateboard. Now I can't actually swing a golf club. So I've become a member and I can't play.
Nick, what's happening in your life at the minute? This is such a beautiful testing period for you.
Yeah, that doesn't faze me. That is what it is. So it's just most people, as I say to people, I've had 10 years training in this. So if you look at it objectively, if I was your regular Joe and someone who was unaware of everything that was happening, all these things would compound and compound and compound and build and build and build. And then I'd reach this point where some bloke's in my toilet and I'd lose control of my entire being. Yeah. I it was like a controlled burn off today, out bush. It was like when I saw the bloke, it was like a controlled fire.
That's sort of the feeling that I got. It's like you said, most people, we compound these things, and it doesn't even have to be like you've had a lot of things happen in a short time, but even things that happen over a longer time, compound. But like you said, it's like a burn off. If I can go through, let go, go through, let go, then my overall load that I'm carrying around doesn't get to an unmanageable state. Because if it got to an unmanageable state, that's when people see someone in the bathroom and just go in and punch their lights out, and then go, why the fuck did I do that?
With that 10 years of training, who knows what I would have done, but whatever I did would have been mindless. Yeah? And it would have been super destructive and negative and dark and blah, blah, blah. But, so someone said to me at golf, they're like, oh, you're pissed off. It was a client, I think. Yeah, client said, oh, you're pissed off that you can't play golf today? And I was like, do you know what I do for a living? I said, no, actually, whilst yes, it'd be great to play golf with everyone, it's also created an opportunity for me to jump in a cart with Zach, who's recovering from cancer and helping us out and doing some work. And him and I are sort of driving around all the groups and making sure everyone's having fun and a good time. So, one door closes, another opens. And he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. So we had a bit of fun. We played worst ball. So we played Ambrose.
Yep.
So Ambrose, for those non-golfers, is you and a playing partner. You can play 2 or 4 ball, but we just played in pairs. And so you both hit off, and then whoever's tee shot is the best, then you hit from there, and whoever's second shot's the best, you both play from there. So
it's a good fun game.
Yeah, well, it is for people without handicaps and who don't play very often.
Yep.
But we played worst ball off the tee and then best ball
for the second shot.
Of the hole.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's a bit of a good nice little change.
So the first bloke had striped it down the middle. So Shane absolutely nailed one down the first par 5.
Pressure's on then, isn't it?
Yeah, and his mates hit one sideways.
Yeah.
So they've had to go and play the sideways shot. Yeah. So it was all designed to create some stimulus to see how people...
Oh, there's nothing worse than having to go and pick up your ball off the middle of the fairway and walk into the trees.
Well, there is getting killed or losing a leg or having something die in your life.
Oh, it's subjective.
Worse. So there's nothing worse than hear how mindless that was. You weren't even aware that you said that. There's nothing worse.
It's an automatic. It's automatic language.
Tell the Jews that there's nothing worse. The Holocaust wasn't worse than me having to go and pick up my ball from the
I don't hit it in the fairway much though, Nick. So it's a big deal for me.
Don't justify it. So we gave each group a list of the cognitive distortions, and the other group playing with them had to mark down when a player from the opposite team was in a distortion. So that by the end of it, so it was very
a cognitive distortion scorecard at the end.
Yeah. It was a ripper. So, and people call them distortions on themselves. Like, got angry. That was me. Yeah. So it was a ripping day. Everyone had heaps of fun. The weather was perfect. It was just a great day. And
it's like you hit it and you're like, why'd the ball go there? So, well, that's physics.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have gone there. Oh, it did.
Well, it did. Yeah. It's not fair that it ended up in the bunker.
That putt should have gone in. No, it shouldn't.
No, it didn't. Maybe if you had to hit it differently or softer. So it was like just a big MEDEX class, a meditative exercise class. Let's create some stimulus. Let's see whether they're attached to these irrational beliefs and get reactive, or let's just see if they're just in the moment. And, it is what it is. And so they did a great job.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, sport's a funny one. Like. I think about like even footy. I don't know if I've spoken about this before, but like after when I went through, when I went through my stuff, because I was like obsessed with pretty much all sport. I still love sport, and then I went through my whole, what I went through, and all of a sudden I started to look at sport a bit different. I was like, what am I getting so riled up for about a bunch of dudes chasing a ball around? And one's wearing one color and one's wearing another color, and we're all human beings. Like, I got real funny about it. And
I spoke about this in another podcast.
Yeah, but now I've sort of the pendulum swung one way or the other, and now it sort of sits in the middle where I'll watch footy or cricket. The Test cricket started yesterday, or the UFC, and when it's on, like, I'm all in. Like, I love getting fired up. I love like yelling at the TV. I love it.
Like,
right?
I did today.
Yeah. And so I love it. But then it's like, as soon as the siren sounds, I'm just like, oh, that was fun. Yeah.
I'm all the way back down.
Whereas I remember there'd be times like if we lost a close game, years ago, then I'd be like, muttering under my breath and stewing on it the rest of the day, even the next day. I remember I'd speak to some people who were even more into it, and they'd be like, oh, that's ruined my week because the team lost on a Sunday. And it's like, you're going to have a shit all the week because we lost. It's like, we lost? You were just fucking watching on TV. You're not involved.
It's I'm in suffering. I'm going to go and find other people who are in an equal amount or more suffering, and so then we can enable each other just to continue in this suffering. And how bad was it? That was terrible. It wasn't fair. No, it wasn't fair, was it? I can't believe we lost. No, me neither. That shouldn't have happened. Why did that happen?
Yeah.
And it's just like... Just enabling.
And so I try and look at this as like extrapolate that out and to life, right? And I think this is where my own sort of philosophy is been moving with life, is that, like, go all in with life. Like, have extreme fun, have periods of stillness, like, do whatever you're doing, like, play the game of life, but realize that it's a game. Yeah, so it's like you don't take anything too seriously, even though you're going all out. You're
well, you got to be playful with it. You got to play around with it. That's why
playful. I like that.
That's why I try and teach. I don't try. I do teach clients to laugh at themselves, because most of what we're doing is hilarious because of how irrational it is. So just to start laughing at it.
And none of it kind of really matters either.
No, but and it's I love it when they come in and they say, I didn't do this bit of thing at work. And I said, what happened? They're like, well, the world didn't end. And I'm like, oh, that's good, isn't it? And they're like, yeah, in the past, I thought the world would have ended. It's just, it's this sense of, I am so powerful. If I don't submit this report, the world will end. Like, you're a powerful human being if you can do that.
Yeah, the universe really is hinging on that report.
If the fate of the world rests upon,
we were about to get sucked into a black hole and existence was about to stop, but the report got in.
Mate, next time tell me and we can get some help around you to get that fucking report.
Everybody on the planet just trying to work towards getting this report done.
You can do it. Don't distract him. Shh.
And the problem is someone else goes, oh, everyone thinks that his report's the thing, but nah, it's my project that I have to get done. That's the thing. And then everyone else is doing the same thing.
Yeah. So trying to like what I usually would have done with that dude out there, if I didn't want to experience a bit of distortion for a bit of fun on a Friday. It shows my life, doesn't it? What did you get up to on the weekend? I just got distorted for a bit of fun.
I mindfully went into some cognitive distortions. What did you do?
I don't know why Emma's with me sometimes.
What a hoot.
Better than the guy at the party. It's funny when you read some comments on Instagram. Occasionally, I'll mindfully go down the rabbit hole and read some comments, and, just to see how irrational people are being. And you always see this one. It's a really nice post or something. And he's like, oh, but those shoes are shit. And I love it when people go, oh, you must be fun at parties. It's always this dude, someone's trying to suck the life out of this really nice experience, and someone always calls them out. Oh, you're that guy at parties.
Yeah, that's such a good comeback though, because like no one wants to be known as that guy. Like, no, I'm not. I'm not like that at parties.
No, I was just having a bad day, man. So yeah, if we can be more, what I would have done with this dude outside is I would have been more curious, and you could hear it. I was like, "What are you doing?" So my natural instinct was to get curious, but that's come through 10 years of training. Instead of expecting that he shouldn't be there, I'm like, "What are you doing here? I really want to know." And
well, that's why you ask if he's homeless, because you're like, well, that would offer, some sort of explanation, and maybe you could, help him out or whatever it was. But
yeah, but that's all I wanted to know, if he was shooting up as well. Like, do I need to maybe call an ambulance as well? So
yeah.
Once again, I was still very present in my distortion, but it was, if we can just laugh at it and be curious, like when I posted on social media the bits of artwork, I really made an effort to say that please, no negative comments, like no fuck that sucks, man, or oh, I can't believe that happened. I said no. I framed it. I was like, it was only some art. No one got injured. Everyone's okay. And so because I wrote that, people are just commenting, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear, Nick. I hope it gets returned to you. I hope it finds its way back to you or something."
Nice.
So it was, which is much nicer, instead of people. A friend of mine got. It's amazing how many of my friends get angry on my behalf, because I don't get angry very often. Even when I was going through a marriage breakup, and my ex was taking all this money, and I was just letting it go because I prioritized my time and my happiness and health and everything. And they were like, "Can't believe she's fucking taking so much. It's fucked, man. No, should we go and do this?" And I'm like, why are you acting on my behalf? It's just.
Well, I think people, we all do it. I think we unconsciously, based on our sort of map of the world, we unconsciously see a lack of anger there. So we're like, that we're not within, and very unconsciously we just step into anger because we're like, oh, Nick's not going to get angry, so there's a lack of anger. I've got to step up, and get angry.
Yeah, well, that's usually there should be anger here. The norm is for there to be anger here, and because it's missing, because it's not coming from Nick, I better supplant it and put this anger in place just to make things normal.
Yeah.
So I posted it on like Instagram and something, and a friend of mine replied to it. It was a story, so she sent me a reply to the story. She's like, "Are you fucking kidding?" Exclamation mark, 2 question marks, exclamation mark, question mark, exclamation, question, exclamation.
Some serious punctuation.
I know. And I said, "Nope." And she's come back with cunts. And followed it up quickly with absolute fuck pigs.
Fuck pigs?
Fuck pigs. So cunts, absolute fuck pigs. And then, sorry, dude, with a full stop. I know it's only material things, but people can be so shit. And I said to her, "It's amazing how angry and upset people are getting on my behalf." And she said, "Someone has to. Ha ha, it's because you are so kind and detached." And I said, "I'm not detached. I'm not apathetic." I said, "I'm just mindful of who and what I give my power to." I was still disappointed, suffering, but then I didn't go into destructive thinking and use cognitive distortions, unnecessary suffering. And I said, if Viktor Frankl can walk out of the Holocaust and say everything can be taken from us except our ability to choose how we feel in any given situation, I said, losing a few bits of art, ... And she's like, "Are you a psychotherapist by any chance?"
Got it in one.
Yeah. And that's what happens. Like, one of those distortions is worst case scenario. Nothing's worse than someone picking up a golf ball from the middle of the fairway after a good drive. It's that blown it right out of proportion. And so many, it's so natural, so easy to do until you learn not to do it. I've been doing this thing with clients lately, writing a list of 10 down to 1, and they're like, "Oh, it's the worst." All right, well, where would you put that on 0 to 10? They're like, "Oh, it's 10. I'm like, "All right, well, your mum getting cancer, where would you put that?" "Oh, well, that'd be 10, but it can't be because something's
let me bump this one down. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and so we put mum getting cancer at number 9, and then what about your dog dying? Well, that'd be 10. I'm like, it can't all be 10 So, so it's number 8, and then becoming quadriplegic and losing your job and having your car stolen. And we fill up the list, and by the time we get down to about 5, they're pissing themselves laughing because they're seeing how irrational they're being. And they're like, I get what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay, get it now.
I pulled a guy out of deep suicidal thoughts. He came in for his first session, and this was the first thing we did, because he thought his girlfriend or his ex-girlfriend had cheated on him a year ago, and he'd spent 12 months just getting more and more bent out of shape. And I did this. It took us 5 minutes to pull him out of suicidal thoughts and to put his mind back in shape. And he's just sitting there, he's going, "Fuck, it's not that bad, is it?" I'm like, kind of not, especially you don't know that it happened either.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what can happen. It's like, that's amazing, by the way. It's like we get stuck in a box, and then it's like it becomes an echo chamber of our own thoughts. And for him, it's like 12 months of being in that box and just bouncing around all these thoughts, and then things tend to get worse. And she definitely did, and this is how she did it. This is who she did it with, and blah blah blah. And then it takes you to do an exercise like that, where you kind of pull him out of that box, and he can look at the box from the outside and gain a bit of objectivity around that.
Yeah, well, you can't see the forest for the trees. So I'm just writing up some distortions. Jumping to conclusions, worst case scenario, using should or critical words, black and white or binary thinking, disqualifying the positives. That's sort of all I can fit there at the moment. So the CDs, cognitive distortions, that's where we get spaghetti brain. And they create these EDs, emotional disturbances. So it's anger.
That's Nick today.
Yeah.
Put in brackets anxiety. Nick next to that.
Okay, Nick. Or a part of Nick. No, it's not whole Nick. Depression and guilt. So this is what this dude had been doing for 12 months. Imagine being caught in this cyclone for 12 months. And we look at this as well as in that neurological pathway. That's constructive. The hard path becomes easier. That's destructive. Easy path, life becomes harder. So he was stuck in this destructive. This is destructive thinking. So he was stuck in, and so he's bouncing. He's jumped to a conclusion that he got cheated on, so he got angry, and then he blew it out of proportion with his worst case scenario. So he got depressed, and he's like, she shouldn't have done that. So he's gotten really anxious that it was going to happen next time, and then he's like, oh fuck, I'm an idiot for doing it. So he's labelled himself as well. So then he's felt guilty, and he's just kept bouncing and bouncing and bouncing between distortion and disturbance, distortion, disturbance. So this neurological pathway is just getting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, and his mind is getting more and more and more and more bent out of shape. So in that situation, his capacity to self-manage and self-regulate and be in the driver's seat, his emotional intelligence was just completely out of his reach. He just couldn't choose how he thought or felt or behaved. So
no, it's like he's been running those thinking styles and those programs for so long, and this happens to all of us. And then it impacts you so greatly that you think the only way for it to go away is to kill yourself. Or even for you, Nick, with the agoraphobia, not being able to open the door, same thing was happening. You're running these styles, and it affected you that much.
My mind got so distorted that it disabled my body. It created this illusion. That's all. Our whole life is an illusion. My illusion at that time was, it's terrible out there. Don't go out there. It's nasty, and you're going to get hurt. So the anxiety went, I'm here for you. I'm saving you. You can't open the door. You can't go outside. And in that, I couldn't find a way out of it. So the only thing I could think of was to end my life. But in hindsight, I didn't want to end my life. I just wanted to end the life I was living. But I didn't have the tools and resources and capacity to create a shift or to create a change. It wasn't until some part of me was just like, this is so irrational. Like, you're 30 years old, fully functioning, except for a bad knee. You should be able to open this door. It just doesn't make sense that you can't open the door. So that little, what the hell, sort of created that gap, and that's where I went into my metanoia, after that. But it happens so easy, mate. It's so quick. The train leaves the station, or you just get swept down that river of thought, and it's some days. 2 days later, you'll pop out of it and go, "Fuck, where have I been?" It's Tuesday already.
But that's 2 days, and for this fella, it was 12 months, and so no wonder we end up in that state. And I think it was really important what you said. It's like we don't so much want our life to end; we just want the life that we're leading to end. But we can't see a way out of it because we've kind of been stuck in those same thinking styles for so long. And you can see how someone can get caught up in that if they haven't been trained or learnt about this stuff, or they don't feel have anyone they can safely open up to who can start to help them see outside the box. Then we isolate even more in those instances.
So going back to an earlier metaphor, so his life entered a storm, and he just lost his compass, he lost his bearings, he just couldn't get out of this storm. He was stuck in this storm for 12 months. So I came along. Thankfully, he found me, shot a flare up, and came in for a session. And I was like, I just plucked him out of his boat and turned around and said, "Look, you're okay. It's everything's okay. It's all, put it all back into perspective for him." And he's like, finally he could start functioning again.
And that's why the education bit's so important, because there's one thing, like we can go in and take someone out of a storm and say, just follow me and I'll get you out of here. But if we don't give them the compass and say, hey, when this happens again, this is how you get out of it, then next time they're in a storm, they're going to need you again to get them out. And
that's what I was doing for 8 years. And when my business was State of Mind Health, it was just counselling and whatnot. And it was helping people out of their suffering. But next storm came along, they'd be back in my office because they still didn't know how to navigate. So that's why when we change it to Myndfit, let's get people mentally fitter and stronger and healthier, and teach them that there's this hard path, that's constructive thinking, and how to do that more. 80% of the time, they'll still be human and go into destructive thinking 20% of the time. But it's it's a different way. That illusion that we're in is completely different.
Yeah, and if people have the knowledge and the compass, so to speak, to be able to navigate, then it's just so much more empowering for people. We don't have to, it doesn't mean we don't reach out and get help in that, but it means that we don't always think that we have to be fixed and we have to rely on someone else to do that fixing. It's like we can go and learn some new tools and things so that next time it's like, hey, I think I can get out of this storm myself. And then when we do get out of the storm ourselves, like that builds even more resilience, more empowerment, and more confidence in ourselves that we can handle kind of whatever comes our way next.
You get it, buddy. You get it.
I must be a psychotherapist or something.
Are you? I'm not distorted anymore. I'm not disturbed. I'm calm again.
Oh no, your energy's changed.
Yeah, I didn't like it. So.
You mindfully chose it and then went, no, this isn't me. I don't like this.
Yeah. I dipped my toe in it again just to see what it was like, and I'm like, no, that's why I don't swim in that pool anymore.
It's a bit toxic. It's a bit green, that pool.
Yeah. Slugs in it.
It's good to know it again, though.
It is.
It's good to taste that flavour.
Every element of yin has some yang in it, and every element of yang has some yin in it. So we can't appreciate. I love how people say appreciate.
Appreciate.
We can't appreciate the equanimity. We get so conditioned to chaos. We can get conditioned to peace, and then when chaos occurs, it feels bigger than it is because we haven't experienced it for a while. So we do need to step into both camps a little bit. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, because if we were equanimous literally all the time, then it wouldn't feel equanimous anymore, I guess. There'd be no reference point.
I said that in my course. The course I'm doing, the psychotherapy and Buddhism course. I was like, I don't know if I'd want to be equanimous all the time because, as you said, you wouldn't know that it's equanimous. It just become beige.
Yeah, because right now you're dipping back into an equanimous state and more of a calm state, and it's like, it's like nice because you're like, oh, I felt that disturbance, and that was blah, blah, blah. So now it feels nice. But if you didn't touch the disturbance, you don't feel the nice. It's like if you've like sitting in front of a fire can be good, but like if you've been out in the snow for hours and you come back in and sit in front of that fire, it's a whole different experience than if it's a nice day outside and you're just sitting in front of a fire.
Totally.
Contrast.
Yeah, well, you sit in front of a fire on a 35-degree Australian summer, and then you sit in front of a fire in a Melbourne winter day. It's going to be two very different experiences, but the fire's still the same.
Exactly.
So, but we talk about attachment being the source of all suffering, those emotional disturbances, but if people get attached to the belief, and I'm seeing this a lot in clients lately, they'll come and they say, I felt really anxious on the weekend. I'm like, what should you have felt? Well, not anxious. Why not? Well, because I'm like, are you not a human being? You don't have a full range of emotions to experience, anxiety being one of them. So they're getting agitated at their agitation again. And that's what's elongating that experience of anxiety because they're anxious about what they're anxious about.
Yeah, it's like whatever you resist persists, and you're just actually drawing it out longer by saying that you shouldn't have it.
Yeah. And then so like, one dude was doing a 6-week program and he spoke about this in his 6 weeks. And I'm like, so what do you want to do from here? He goes, yeah, better go into the 12-week program, I think. He really realized how much more work he still had to do.
Yeah. It's like same thing with, sadness, especially guys. Guys will start to get angry that they're sad. I shouldn't fucking be sad. And it's just, you start this anger and sadness loop. And this thing just keeps going around and round. And this sadness that could have been felt and moved through the system in a few minutes, all of a sudden days later, I'm angry because I've just been feeding it.
We sign up when we're about to become a human. We sign up to, I soon to be Nicholas Ross Sutherland hereby agree to, as a human, experiencing a whole range of emotions. So it's being sad is not outside the realms of probability.
What if I didn't sign up for sadness? What if I just crossed that one out when I was signing?
You didn't. So it would have uncrossed itself magically.
Yeah, I crossed out all the negative emotions and then signed it. And then as I was going in to be born, I just erased that out. And I'm like, no.
And you came out of your mother's vagina.
No.
Here we are. You're scrambling back up the umbilical cord to get back in there. I crossed them out.
The doctor picks me up, slaps me on the ass. You're breathing? Fucking hell, why am I here again?
So if we have an attachment, and so attachment is two parts. It's an aversion or a craving, or aversion and desire. So I don't want this or I do want that. And so if I only want to be feeling equanimous, then it's actually going to negate my ability to be equanimous because I'm going to have an agitation when I experience something that's outside those parameters.
Well, every time I'm not equanimous, I'm not accepting that. So that takes me further away from equanimous. It's like it's actually the opposite of equanimous, having some sort of opinion on the state that I'm in. Yeah.
I shouldn't be feeling this. I should be feeling equanimous. Well, that's not going to help you to feel equanimous.
It's like you're trying to force equanimity on your being. Be equanimous, goddammit, you piece of shit.
Fucking hurry up and be equanimous. Why aren't I equanimous yet?
Oh shit!
I've done 3 weeks of Myndfit program. Why am I in a constant state of equanimity?
Expectation. All right, we'll wrap it up there, mate. I've got to run.
Oh, like literally, you going for a jog or
no?
All right, okay, good chat.
It's an expression. I'm going to walk downstairs.
Okay.
I might go I went for a random run a few days ago. I'm not really a runner, but I'm like,
run.
Well, it was because I'm just like, Tommy went to sleep and I'm like, I'm going to go for a run. It just came inspiration out of nowhere.
That was after our podcast when my client had the irrational belief. I fucking hate running, but he didn't realize he was saying it. And we're like, you don't hate running. Remember that?
Maybe see, I do now. I didn't though, so maybe that was implanted somewhere, and that just sprouted. That seed sprouted in that
I'm
moment.
working my magic on you.
A random run. So
I'm gonna go and check. I'm gonna go and check the back toilets then. Make sure no one's shooting up out there. None of your mates are bloody GBHing or whatever it is out there.
my old mates. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Hass's old crew. I'm like, you either Ryan. No, man. Oh, fuck off then.
That's funny on like the stealing thing. Like his, like I said to you before we jumped on, I'm like, it's weird they stole art because like I've been in circles where people like broke and entered and robbed and all that kind of stuff, and you steal things in the drug community that you know the definite value of, because you need it. It's a bargaining tool for drugs, you know. Yeah. And I just had the memory of when I was dealing, because people they'd run out of money and just start offering you random shit for drugs. And like this one time, and I always said no, and then you end up getting bored and everything. So I'm like, all right, what do you got? And this guy was like a game show. He literally would come into the room with a different item from his garage and try and sell it to me. And it's so, I love how what's the word, inventive or whatever. Anyway, people can get
creative.
Yeah, and he came in with a welding helmet, and I was dead set that close to buying a welding helmet because his pitch was that good. Like he came in with the helmet on, and he's showing me the benefits, how it went up and down, what welding you could do, and I'm like, fuck, this is a good welding helmet. And I had to like stop myself and go, mate, there's no time in the foreseeable future that you're going to be fucking welding. You do not need a welding helmet. But it was like a show where like Shark Tank, but a bloody drug addict version of Shark Tank.
That's a great reality TV show. Should have that. Let's. My friend's a producer.
If anyone's in television, I'll help. I'll help. Put the ideas together.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Can we be the judges? They're trying to. Can we be the dealers? And they're just trying to.
Yeah. And maybe we can incorporate the chair spinning around or something.
Yes.
Or, we'll just chuck a bunch of different game shows in there. But good times.
You're Delta Goodrum.
I'm unpredictable. All right.
I don't know if that's the title of her song, but the way you're laughing,
it's the only song that I know of hers.
I'm thinking you just made a funny joke that only you get and that only you are laughing at.
All Delta Goodrum fans listening will be having a nice little chuckle along with that one.
Melissa Hyman just got in touch with me. What does she want?
It's my better half. She's downstairs.
Oh my! Oh yes. Just running a testimony. The case. Fuck! I'm so busy. I haven't done that for her. Right. I'm gonna jump off Ryan and jump on Mel.
Good. That'll keep her happy and that'll benefit me. So that's great.
Awesome. Great.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, I'll be happy.
Bye, Grumpy Nick.
Bye.